I feel especially lucky to be able to show this conversation today. It happened spontaneously, fortuitously. It was what I am hoping this channel will truly turn out to be. So without further ado, I'll discuss more later. Without further ado, here is my cousin Bob. So we've seen a bit of Bob. We want to continue the whole conversation, but first of all, I give you Bob.
Hey.
And then I'm going to set the camera up another way.
Okay.
With a brief explanation of how we got into this conversation.
Great.
Which is to say, while we were lounging poolside, because we're here having a fantastic week in a vacation-y type place, conversation came up that sounded like it would be more interesting, and I asked Bob more about that, and he said, well, that would require going into some more fundamental beliefs, and I said, that is what I'm talking about. That's what I'm looking to do.
Yeah.
So I'm going to flip this around so we're looking at it the right way. To summarize, we're here in Garden Paradise,
Right.
celebrating both the loss of somebody who we all dearly loved,
Yes.
but also who are my parents and both of our uncle, who, with his dear wife, came to live on Kauai 3 years ago.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes. And loved every minute.
And we very much wanted to have a chance to remember the things that sometimes you miss, which includes some raucous conversations that turn out to be so raucous that they're difficult to record and actually hear anything.
Yes.
But we discovered in the car for the way here today, and we're all leaving today. We're all on a plane today. That my, let's just say, my favorite cousin Bob has a gift for explaining exactly how he comes to be where he comes to be.
Right.
And the question at the start of this whole thing was, at the pool yesterday, different members of our cousinhood describing their understanding of the universe and how life works, partly inspired by a conversation the night or two nights before by the older generation about whether or not St. Peter would be waiting at the gate for any individual when they arrived, because we know so-and-so's in there.
Right.
Maybe he can get me in.
So the afterlife, essentially.
Exactly.
What does that consist of?
And in describing some of the ideas that I have been exposed to and find very intriguing, describing my understanding of what might happen after life, which it stems on the idea that our souls are eternal. Only this body dies. The soul doesn't die. It continues and remembers all the lessons that it learned on this trip through planet Earth. And Bob said, "Are you talking about reincarnation?"
Right.
And I could detect a tone.
Questioning.
And responding mostly to the tone, first of all, I tried to back away and say, no, not. And then I thought, well, no, that is a way of describing what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Another incarnation, which the soul can choose to undertake if it wants to. But the detection of the skepticism was aborn. And I asked in the car, so how do you explain, and we had some of the conversation in the car about how he came to be a Jehovah's Witness,
right?
After having been raised in a house that was Catholic, like my family was. And go.
Okay. So reincarnation versus not. My belief as a Christian is based on what the Bible says, which is that the soul is not immortal, but in fact dies, because it's our active force. Therefore, we believe that when you die, you don't have a consciousness. You're just laying in the grave, waiting to be raised again, which is the teaching of the resurrection. So, in a sense, you could call that the afterlife. But the Bible does not support, but other people believe otherwise. The Bible does not support that your soul lives forever in the universe. It instead says that the soul is part of your essential life force, dies with you, and can be resurrected back to life by the one who created all things, because that person can reanimate what was created originally. So
if this body carries, let's call it a spark of life,
right,
that spark is extinguished when the body dies.
Yes.
but that body lies in its
Dormancy.
place. So what happens for obviously you've dealt with the question of cremation.
Right.
Yeah, so there's not so much a body to reanimate at that
It's
point.
not the same body that would be reanimated. It would be a new body that looks very much or the same as your other body, because that if there is a creator that created you in their image and likeness, they can do it again.
Sure.
That it is not beyond their power or ability. And so they can bring you back from the dead, whether you're ashes or bones, make you whole again.
They don't need your physical matter, right?
They do
Even
not.
if you had the body, and even if you preserve the body, it's going to change
Yes.
from the version of that body that
Yeah.
was prior to the
Yeah.
extinguishment of the spark.
And we
So you don't need the materiality to make the body.
Yeah, and if we lived to the age of my Aunt Gladys, which was 90, her body had broken down. It was deteriorating. That's not the body that would be good to resurrect, because then she'd have the same problems. Instead, the Bible promises we'll be resurrected in sort of like the prime of our life and stay in that nice range of health, good health, which will be, our health will be restored. We won't have illnesses. We will not have the burden of sin, which creates our death and destruction, ultimately, according to Christian belief. So when you're resurrected to a new life in a healthy state, you have the prospect of never dying at all, as long as you don't make the error of rebelling against your creator, using your free choice to serve your creator rather than oppose your creator. So I believe if I die in this life, that I'll be resurrected, be able to live on a restored paradise earth that our first parents threw away carelessly and rebelled against God. They had a choice to do either that or pursue a course of serving and following their creator. They chose the opposite course. It led to our current state, which is not good. And so a new state would be an earth full of people who willingly want to serve their creator, not say, I'm going to do my own thing, whether it's to the detriment of others or not. They don't, if you're selfish, for instance, you don't care what the collateral damage is of your actions, you just do them, and the hell with everybody else, right? But in a paradise restored, people would be cognizant of being kind, loving. That's the basis for all of this. And if you do that and just go along with God's purpose, which is for people to live in harmony and enjoy life forever, then you have that as your essentially version of reincarnation, according to my Christian
point
belief.
out, yeah, because what is of particular interest in hearing a clear explanation of how the whole comes together for
Yeah.
you, I am struck by similarities.
Yes.
Right? So
Definite
in your
similarities.
story, there is eternal life
Yes.
with the same body,
Yeah.
but not until whatever the moment is, whatever the
Yeah.
catalyst is, when God or the re-arrival of Jesus arrive and
Right.
say, now is the moment.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, there is not a spark any longer
Right.
animating a either rotting or deteriorated
Yeah.
body, but that best version of that body will come back.
Yes.
Let me ask this question.
Yep.
Because again, a lot of overlap.
Yeah.
So far, the main point of difference is when the realization of eternal life happens.
Yes.
Whereas
And what form
I
it
would
takes.
suggest, fairly immediately upon dying, are you welcomed into an understanding of how continuous life is. But your version, meaning somebody welcomes you,
Right.
right, and
Yeah.
and the version my dad was describing is St. Peter at the gate, right, and
Right.
there's a judgment process for that.
And your dad is a Christian also, but
Catholic.
a Catholic
Yeah.
specifically. And his belief in that, immediately going to heaven, seeing St. Peter and being welcomed into heaven, is different because than my belief, which the Bible says actually when we are resurrected again, it's as if we were in
This is what weather is like when it's nice.
Yeah. It's as if we were in a deep sleep. So when the Bible person Lazarus died, Jesus told his apostles that he was going to go wake Lazarus from sleep, and they said, Lord, he's dead. So he likened it to sleep. So
Can't be done.
The grave is like sleep. You were unconscious, not conscious of what's happening.
Okay.
And our body may be deteriorating, but God can raise it again whole and better and perfect so that it never deteriorates again.
Okay, now
Yep.
you do agree with the
On
basic
earth, on earth
assessment
is the
of
difference.
the gap of
Yeah.
your my version is you exit this 3D form, this material
the
form,
mortal coil,
and you immediately are aware of a bigger, broader existence that is in
right.
I would describe it as eternal.
Yeah.
And you say there will come a moment when reanimation. Now,
yes.
Here's my next question.
Yep.
Would you describe the body that will be restored when the resurrection arrives?
Yep.
Is there a blueprint for that body?
There is, because it's in our DNA that our Creator used to create us initially. That's in his or her, whatever your belief is. That person's mind, they can recreate you exactly as
because there's a plan and it's in the DNA.
It's in the DNA.
Yeah.
And the Bible actually talks about
I'm on board
our
with that.
DNA. If you can believe that, the Bible actually mentions the embryo of us, and that it was all down in writing, which is like the genetic code. It mentions those in poetic language, but it's referring to our DNA, of which God animates with our life force. And when we take our last breath, that means we have expired, stopped breathing, right? When we stop breathing, we're dead, we're basically inanimate, we can decompose, but God can resurrect us according to his DNA blueprint that's in mind, and resurrect us exactly as we were, except
it's kept in
healthy,
record somewhere. We know who you are.
And in Christian belief, as long as you stay faithful to God and do not oppose God, like the devil in the Bible did, and rebelled against God and tried to take other people away in rebellion against God. As long as we do not do that, we can essentially live forever. Yeah. In a perfect physical body.
This body.
The best version, never gets old, never has ailments, any problems like that. So, and our loved ones will be resurrected with us. We'll get to enjoy generations back to the day of creation.
It doesn't sound all that different, frankly, than the version that I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So the version I'm talking about says that your soul is eternal, and that your soul made the decision to come into this body, to take on this learning experience.
Right.
That we come to Earth in a human body in order to learn lessons that we set for ourselves before we were born into this body. And that part of the deal with being born into this body is that you are made to forget your
prior existence,
higher stuff.
Oh, okay.
Right? So once you are born into materiality, everything that you learn comes from materiality.
Okay.
And the challenge becomes, I set myself on this path through life, a lesson I wanted to learn from being born into these circumstances. So let's say these circumstances are very difficult. Let's say you are born into a family of drug addicts and they beat you up, and your childhood is not filled with love, and you are probably subject to abuse, and whether that is just parental emotional abuse or later on sexual abuse, because you are looking for an answer to the thing that you didn't get from the people who were supposed to raise you to respect yourself.
And happy
and your
life.
question is what, and you set this question for yourself, is to me the most interesting part of it, is how will I respond to those circumstances I chose to put myself in? And life is a school. And
so
some people
that was
can
a choice.
overcome
That was a choice to go into that bad situation. So what was the prior life before that like? How do you know? What was the? How do you define?
Do you mean the eternal soul before it got born?
Yeah. How did you say, I'm going to choose a life of hardship and difficulty and abuse, and then try to rise above it and better myself?
Because every soul that exists is a piece of what we call God.
Yeah.
I was never a fan of the word God from way back Sunday school time.
It's a title.
And I'll tell you why. Because it always felt too small.
Yeah.
It puts people's minds
Right.
to think about, very, very quickly it becomes, is it a man or a woman, right?
Right.
You've already made the first
Right.
division.
Yeah.
I think that's too small.
Yeah.
And is it a white person? Is it a black person? Is it a red person?
Right.
Is it, these are all making the whole idea smaller.
Yeah.
So then my way of thinking of it is that each soul is just a piece of that, is that God or source is a word I like a little better, or the
higher
universe
being.
I often say, which is just the energy that underlies everything.
Yeah.
Wants to. So the state of, this was a nice framing I heard recently, the state of all knowing is motionless. If you know everything, there's nothing new to learn. There's no motion, there's no action.
Right.
And the only way to learn more, to appreciate yourself more in the myriad glory that consciousness can experience, is to try on a different hat.
Right.
To try on a new suit and see what you learn from that specific expression of this huge consciousness. And so we all are, what are they, Argonauts? We are adventurers in a journey to try to figure out what is jumping into this soup feel like, right? So the word God, which again feels too small to me,
Feels limiting,
chooses to express itself through our limited selves.
Right.
And that's part of the deal. You are putting on blinders. You are choosing to limit yourself so that you can only learn what you can learn from this particular set of circumstances you chose. And some people choose great circumstances.
Right.
Some people choose circumstances of huge abundance. And they've obviously learned something different than our kid born to an addict family learns. And all of these things are new, and all of this information is going into this larger consciousness that contains everything.
Can you choose when to change the channel, when you want to go on to the next phase, or is that predetermined as a lifetime, whatever that consists of, whether it's 20 years or 80 years? Can you say after 10 years,
that's a great question.
Man, I shouldn't have made that choice, flip the channel?
Here's what I love about that question. I love about that question that it feels kind of like something I am experiencing. That you, through the effort that you make in whatever it is that you do, whatever it is you choose to do, and I've done a lot of different things and been pretty good at, a decent chunk of them, but never stayed on one track to get to the point of
burnout?
Well, no. I've always had this feeling like that there was something that I was capable of making something big. Whether I was going to be an actor, whether I was going to write a book, whether I was going to write a screenplay. I didn't often think about being the president of the United States, but I thought that I would be up to the job if circumstances carried me there.
If presented to you,
the set of choices that I made were more artistic, but I always had that feeling like something's big, and I never stayed in any one lane long enough to let my cumulative effort take me to a place where people would say, yeah, that is a piece of work that deserves recognition.
You're a groove jumper, essentially.
I have jumped a lot of grooves. And
that's good.
And it may be that the combination of all those record scratches that have pierced the ears finally add up after a long period of time.
It's a symphony
of to maybe reaching a point where there is good work to be done. And conversations like this are exactly what I feel I am designed to be able to do well, so that people can hear them, so that we can have more understanding that we're all on a pretty similar journey. Because the differences are not big.
Because there's 8.8 billion opportunities to talk to people with. So you got your work cut out. I'm just saying.
And I would say one of my favorite parts about your description of the Jehovah's community is the traveling around and being able to immediately connect to something about or somebody in a way that you could immediately trust them.
Around the world.
And there's a lot of, I honestly feel like there's similarities in what I would describe the yoga community as having. That when you identify as, let's say, a crunchy granola person driving Subaru, which might be less true in Bali or
Yeah.
in South America.
Of course.
It
There's a
describes
version of it.
That's a particular, I'm going to say, skeptical version of who that pathwalker is. But there is a sense of community when you find
Right.
a fellow crunchy.
When you
human.
find your tribe.
When you
know,
find your tribe, you can feel understood and seen and heard
Yeah.
and respected, and
Yeah.
and it lets you be as capable of giving back
Yeah.
as you are finding yourself to be.
Yeah.
And we've seen all kinds of examples of that this week. You guys have
Yeah.
been just marvelous to us, carrying us all around, and the conversations that you initiate with, my dad and
Yeah.
our uncle
Yeah.
and my mom.
Showing respect,
Yeah,
showing love always.
there's a real. I don't want to say stage manager energy. There's a real enabling. There's a real
Yeah.
underpinning energy that both you and Mary brought into
Yeah.
this week. It's been a fantastic week.
Into our family tribe.
yeah,
Because this
I'm
is
so
our
grateful.
family tribe,
This
and we
is-
have multiple tribes.
that's
We have
exactly
a faith tribe, a family tribe, friends tribe,
That's exactly
different
right.
things. Yeah.
And sometimes you might decide, you know what, a family tribe meant this and this, and I'm going to trade that for other tribe
Right.
that provides those.
Yeah. Values.
Inputs.
Inputs.
Those guys are back.
Multiple
We're heading
times.
to the airport.
And that is our cue. Ladies and gentlemen, my new friend,
Hey,
Bob
great to meet you.
W.
What was your name again?
I'm Peter. Back from paradise. Too soon? What are you going to do? At least it is for here a balmy 40 degrees, so I can sit outdoors without dying. I loved this conversation with Bob because he was quite reluctant at first. It has certainly been his experience that talking about religion, talking about his particular beliefs has turned into friction enough times. And I don't think he's wrong. So his initial reaction when I said, hey, I'd love to hear you explain more about what was objectionable to you about the idea of reincarnation, he said, he was very reluctant to put Christian beliefs on YouTube because he thought there was no audience for that. And he is not wrong that there can be pushback. That's why people avoid talking about politics and religion at Thanksgiving. But with a sympathetic ear, he became quite terrific at explaining how he came to his set of beliefs. And I'll do the portion in the car, which feels abrupt starting because the conversation was already 5 minutes in by the time he said, okay, yeah, you can go ahead and record. And the more meat, well, both parts have some juicy parts, but this kind of conversation is precisely what I have the highest hopes for this channel turning into. An opportunity for people who might think about things differently than I do, or perhaps than you do, to nevertheless get a sympathetic hearing and feel heard and help us all get a better understanding of how we come to the places we come to. So, next, you'll go look for the one in the car.